A contractor is drinking coffee opposite the scene of a murder on Upper Queen Street. His colleagues are working around the yellow tape left by police after a 70-year-old man was killed yesterday. He says he saw the aftermath.
I think he was lying down in that lobby, and we tried to help that ambulance and stuff like that. Once the ambulances arrived first, and there's nobody allowed to go inside.
His colleague says they're no strangers to crime, but murder is on another level.
It's the first time we've had something this bad happen so close to our site. We've had other things like thefts and all of that happen around, but yeah, nothing this serious.
The man says something needs to change.
Crime's getting terrible in Auckland, yeah. Every other day you hear about a shooting or a gang fight or things like that, so it does need to be sorted out.
A North Shore resident visiting the city says she and her family would never visit at night.
Normally it's a night we afraid come to here. Yeah, very afraid.
Residents of Epsom are similarly anxious. Last night a person was killed at the off-Broadway motel and a 19-year-old was arrested. Around the corner, students are on their way to the nearby high schools. This resident is worried for them.
A lot of families live around in Epsom, a lot of school children, Epsom girls, diocesan. This is much more alarming when it's local.
Another resident is worried about the social factors driving young people to commit violent crimes.
Makes me wonder about the 19-year-old and what caused that sort of thing, what sort of trauma they were suffering and how they got to do such a thing.
He says authorities aren't doing enough to address those factors.
The whole sort of slide into that sort of crime like ram raids and stuff like that says something about what we're not doing in our society, and I reckon, we've got to think about that widening gap, poverty gap.
This resident hopes to see more police on the street.
Like a lot of people, I think we should have police based on the beach and in the city. Visible.
Auckland youth worker Aaron Hendry says he understands why people are anxious, but he says a tougher approach could cause more harm than good.
There's definitely, that anxiety and fear. And there is a perception that, tougher penalties, more police will keep us safer. The reality is, when we look at the evidence, that mechanism of the justice system that acts in a really punitive way, it doesn't keep us safer.
Mr. Hendry says early interventions with at-risk youths are vital to preventing crime.
If we really want some change in this space, what I'd be saying is we need to look at how do we do, one, early intervention well, how do we actually respond to those basic needs, ensure that people who are in a really vulnerable space are getting the support that they need and that we're intervening early, and two, how are we actually responding in crisis when people need it.
The defendants in both cases have been remanded in custody and are expected to reappear in Auckland High Court next month.